All right, welcome to another episode of FLAVR Q&A. Today I'm going to talk about this one. 100 Fuji Chrome 100 Sensia. So Sensia is completely discontinued like a decade ago, and it is probably one of my favorite Fuji slide films that they don't make anymore. And you can check that out. It's like, it is so nice. It's like E100. I'm so glad that Kodak still make good slide film. Yeah. And the interesting thing to note about Sensia is the cast. So this is the color corrected image, and here we've got the straight out of the can as exposed, and it has that sort of bluish tinge, whereas if you look at something like, say, the FLAVR is a little bit less so, and say FLAVR 100F is even more yellow than blue. So it just has this really nice look, and it's very, very, very similar in look to the E100. Let's go and find that. Where are we? Yeah, really nice. So that's the E100, and then that's the Sensia. And Sensia is just unreal. The only way you can shoot Sensia today is if you happen to have a 10-year-old can of Sensia, or you have one of the many Fuji digital cameras that will allow you to use a Sensia preset. So you can select a range of presets on the Fuji cameras. Just a quick trip down memory lane. What are your chances of finding a roll of Sensia 100? Probably not very good. I had great difficulty trying to source these films when I put the book together, like 3 years ago, and I can't imagine it's getting any better now. A lot of this stuff is either locked away in people's freezers and fridges, or it's just simply been lost. And this film is getting to the point now where it's 10 years past expiry, and it'll probably start shifting soon. So I'll probably have to do something with it in the near future. Maybe some landscape work. But the thing is, it's like, the landscape stuff. Landscape just looks the same. Like, even when you have like 3 different films which shoot very, very differently for portrait, it's much more difficult to make an appraisal between 3 different films in a shot in a landscape or a city, or like if you've got a dominant color throughout the image, then you're probably going to have a better idea of being able to discern one way or the other. But for my money, it's being able to discern the differences is much easier on skin tone than on a bunch of buildings, or so we'll see if I put something like that together. But just a trip down memory lane of a roll of film. I have a Sensia 200 as well, which was shot for the book. I think I bought the Sensia 100 and 200 as a package deal. You can find some of this stuff floating around in eBay, but for the most case, your chances are that this stuff is almost being resigned to history. I can't imagine Fuji re-releasing these kind of products in the near future or in the further future. And, you know, like even with their proprietary presets in their cameras, it's still locked into JPEG anyway, so you pretty much, there's really not much context to do discovery as far as that's concerned. So, but luckily they still manufacture some of the FLAVR stock, and what do they have? The FLAVR 100F is quite nice. And they re-released their Neopan as well, which is pretty cool. I wasn't expecting that. But yeah, well, I mean, and actually, let's have a look at that. Let's have a look at Sensia. Yeah, so here's something, right? So Sensia compared to 100G. And when you look at the underexposure, right? So shooting this at 200, you can see that there's way more highlights. There's definitely a little bit more detail in shadows. And when you compare that to the E100G, there's absolutely nothing. Like, there's a big difference between the two films and how much they can resolve at one stop under, and even overexposed. You know, even overexposed, the Sensia is far greater in terms of you know, like the balance between the -1, 0 and +1 exposure compared to the Kodak product. So, and that's one of the reasons why the book is useful, is that it will allow you to evaluate not only the color of the particular film, but it will also allow you to evaluate the dynamic response. You know, how the film responds to light, how the film responds to capturing light over a range of stops. Because when you take an image, if you take this as a portrait image, then there are differing elements of light. So, you know, this area will be brighter than that area up there, and that area over there, and this area is probably a midpoint. So it gives you a lot of flexibility to be able to make decisions on which film will suit your particular application. All right, that's enough for today. The next episode will probably be the Sensia 200, and then I'll just keep going, maybe, unless someone asks me a question. We'll see how we go. All right, take care.